Welcome back to the MPO's webcast, Tuesday Traffic Jam. We're glad you could join us during rush hour traffic. My name is Albie Marie Corrales. I am the planning manager at the MPO. We also have Corinne Tucker here co-hosting today's episode.
Hi, I'm Corinne Tucker, and we're going to jump right into today's Talking Transit episode of Tuesday Traffic Jam. So today we have some very special guests with us. Ryan Suarez from Kimberly Horn, Jonathan Roberson, planning manager at Manatee County Area Transit, and Jane Grogg, the director at the Sarasota County Area Transit. Ryan, so you've been working with us on the US 41 Transit Choices study. Can you give us a little overview of the study and what the recommendations from that study are?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. The US 41 Transit Choices study. This is a project where we're focusing on how to improve the speed and the reliability of the bus. In other words, keeping the bus on time. How do we make the bus move faster throughout the course of the day? We always get all these comments from the riding public and even from the general public about, well, we don't use the bus service because it takes too long, it moves too slow, it makes too many stops. With the Transit Choices study, we evaluated some, let's call them some treatments, some interventions, technologies that'll help us improve the speed, again, and the on-time performance, the reliability of the bus, which is very important to passengers. And just to take a step back, this was a very collaborative effort that involved a lot of agencies, two representatives of which are on this call, folks from SCAT and from MCAT as well, including also traffic management staff from the two counties and the Florida Department of Transportation. So a lot of work went into this. The focus was the US 41 corridor because there is an existing operation, an existing bus route that operates between the two downtowns, downtown Bradenton and downtown Sarasota. The route's called the Route 99. And this route was chosen, and this corridor was chosen primarily because this is the major spine between the two counties. It is a major corridor not just for bus service, but also for general traffic. There's a lot of traffic on that corridor, a lot of cars, a lot of movement, a lot of people travel between the two counties using the US 41 corridor. In terms of public transportation and the bus service, it is the Route 99 that carries the most passengers between the two agencies. And when I say most passengers, this is the highest ridership route, the Route 99. So with those two items, which are key focus elements, we took on the opportunity to look at the Route 99 and how we can make that particular route move faster through traffic. And also, again, I circle back to reliability because that's so important to know that the bus is going to be there on time every day as scheduled. So what are the applications? What are the technologies that we looked at? The first one, and probably the most important one, I think, really, for application in this corridor is something called transit signal priority. Now that conjures up a lot of ideas, and there were a lot of preconceptions as we went through the process about what that actually is. And this doesn't mean that the bus gets priority over everybody else, over all traffic, such as what you see at railroad crossings or for ambulances who have similar systems in some communities. This is a system where you have technology on the signal head and on the bus, which communicates with each other. And a signal is sent from the bus to the intersection requesting permission to change the signal so that way the bus can push through the intersection without having to stop on a red. So that's as simple as it gets, and the benefits to that is a lot of times it's very subtle to other drivers. They don't even know that the system is working behind the scenes and actually improves traffic for others who are driving along the same roadway. It is a lower cost improvement, and I should probably say lower in relative terms because transportation improvements are expensive when you compare. But when you compare the cost of a signal priority system versus things like widening the road, definitely your signal priority systems are that much more inexpensive and they're efficient. when done correctly. The second application, let's call it, is something called a queue jump. So the question is, how do we get the bus out of the way of traffic? If it's always operating alongside other traffic, mixed traffic is the terminology, it's always going to be at the whim of traffic conditions. So how do we move that bus around other traffic or get it out of the way of traffic, right? A queue jump lane is an approach lane. Sometimes, more often than not, it's a shared right turn lane where the bus moves into that shared right turn lane, moves out in front of the queue of traffic that may be stopped at a red light. And when combined with a signal priority system where the signal turns green so that bus can move through traffic and merge back in front of the queue of cars. And that's really one of the simplest ways to get that bus out of the way of traffic. The third application that we looked at was something called a business access transit lane, a BAT lane, B-A-T. And what this is a curbside dedicated lane for bus service. It's shared, so that way other vehicles, other traffic can access businesses that are alongside the road. So anybody that's turning right into a business or making right-hand turn onto US 41 in this example, they can merge back into traffic and use that shared lane. But for the most part, for the large part of the day, the lane would be dedicated for the bus. Now that's the highest cost and probably the highest level of service that we can provide to bus operations in terms of getting that bus out of the way of traffic. Importantly for this, we did look at three. We looked at applications throughout the entire corridor for all three. And if you do have time to take a look at the study that's posted on the MPO website, you'll see where, in terms of this planning study, we did identify some opportunities for each one of those applications. Yeah, I think importantly for this project, we were all on the same page in terms of actions, results. You know, what are we going to do? Planning studies are great, but what are the implementation steps? And really, to get this going, it was important for the group to really demonstrate, prove this concept, prove that these concepts do work, engage with the traffic management staff and the transit agencies and FDOT to ensure that, you know, these are the right applications, or this is in fact the right application for this quarter and it's actually going to work. So the next steps do include looking at the opportunity for transit signal priority, a pilot, a demonstration project. And there's some steps that are following our effort here to engage with all the different organizations that I've mentioned to determine where that pilot's going to take place. And that's slated to begin actually this coming January.
Well, thank you, Ryan, for giving us an overview of US 41 Transit Choices study. Now, I have heard there will be a new 20-minute headway on Route 99 soon, which is awesome. So Jonathan, can you tell us more about that and how it will tie into the recommended improvements Ryan just mentioned?
Sure, Mary. Thank you. Thanks for having me. As you may know, MCAT received a service development grant from FDOT late last year to add 20-minute service to the Route 99 in the peak periods roughly between 5:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. in the morning and 2:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the evening. For about 10 years now, over 10 years, MCAT and SCAT have been jointly operating Route 99 service. And so both agencies have been using their buses to kind of create one schedule. And what this grant does is add 2 more buses from MCAT's side, putting a total of 7 buses out there for 20-minute service. 4 of those will be MCAT, 3 SCAT in the peak period. And so it's a pretty interesting and unique situation where you have 2 transit agencies sharing the same goal and operating a very popular fixed route in the region. We have over 500,000 trips a year between the 2 agencies on the corridor. and it was even more than that before COVID and climbing back up. Another interesting feature of this is both MCAT and SCAT staff worked closely together to build the new schedule. With this new service coming, you kind of have to rearrange everything and get the best service out there. So both staff from both agencies worked diligently over the last few months to develop a schedule, and that is soon to be out. This service starts December 4th, and we're looking forward to it. I might add that we've already invested in some technology on our buses, and this will allow us to hopefully hook right into this transit signal priority project that Ryan was talking about and the MPO is helping to fund. This is kind of our automatic vehicle locator technology, which is already in place on the buses, and from what I understand, essential to make a signal priority project work and to get the buses to be read and understood at the intersections and the technology that'll be up on the traffic signals. So all in all, we feel like we're well positioned. We're super happy to be adding service to the corridor in the short term, but these technology improvements could really help our passengers have a more on-time trip and maybe potentially even a faster travel time on the corridor. So pretty excited about that.
Well, that's great news, Jonathan. That service enhancement looks like it's going to be great for the region. So I also heard that there's a new service in Sarasota County. Jane, can you give us a little overview of what that new service is and how it will tie in with the US 41 Transit Choices transit signal priority recommendations?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me today. Sarasota County has launched a new mobility network for our whole system here in SCAT. That began in June, and that began after about 18 months of in-depth study and analysis on optimizing our service for the community. So what happened during that analysis is the routes, the fixed route service that had the lowest performance, such as low riders, were targeted for a change. And so the most popular routes that have the highest ridership, and if you take a look at the map, you can see that most of those core routes are in our most densely populated area in our spine, including US 41 in our community, and those routes stayed. And in the areas that had poorer performing routes, we changed that service to an on-demand or demand response service. And there are 4 new zones where that service is provided in those areas where other bus routes were eliminated in June. And those 4 areas include a Lido Longboat zone that connects to downtown Sarasota, and that one directly overlays where Route 99 comes into the Sarasota station. And then our second zone is a Siesta Key zone that connects to the mainland. And then a third zone that is Venice to Inglewood, and a fourth zone, which is generally Northport. And we've seen quite a positive response in those 4 zones since we launched in June. For example, in September, we had 11,000 trips taken on that new on-demand service. And what's interesting about this integrated mobility approach is that a rider can take a trip from their origin, which may be their home or their business, wherever they're starting, and request a trip and have a vehicle arrive to pick them up within 30 minutes and take them to their destination that is within that same zone. And if that individual is traveling beyond that zone, they can set their destination to a mobility hub or a bus stop along, say, one of our major spines, such as US 41, and then continue their trip beyond that zone to another part of the county. This demand response system has 3 ways to book a trip. You can do that through an online app on a smartphone, and you can also do it through a web application or by calling a reservation center, and they will enter that request for you. The app is very much like other ride-sharing apps. If you've used one before, you identify your starting location and where you want to go, and then it provides you with a proposal of how soon that vehicle can get to you to help you complete that trip. And this is a ride-sharing service, so others who are going to common or similar destinations as you may be riding along with you in those vehicles. So it really connects our zones, our new on-demand zones, with our fixed route service so that there are connections between the two. Those higher volume areas where the bus trips are still frequent, the routes have stayed in place. And because buses are really the best way to carry that volume of passengers, we continue to use those in those core, or like I said, backbone areas to connect people to those key destinations that they frequent. And as Jonathan mentioned, that shared Route 99 that we do together, having 500,000 customers going between our 2 counties, that's a great service, and that really is an efficient way to get passengers where they want to go. And then they can continue their trip if you're in Sarasota with an on-demand service if needed to get to a location, or transfer to another bus if you're going to a high volume destination.
Well, that's a great conversation, and that was a good discussion where we heard about US 41 transit choices, Manatee County area's transit 20-minute headways starting in December, Sarasota County area transit's mobility on demand services that started this summer. So this is also great improvements that will work together to enhance the transit network. I would like to close this interview with one last question for each one of you. Is there anything else that you would like the people watching to know? So I'll start off with Ryan, then we'll follow with Jonathan, and then Jane. So Ryan?
Again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think seconding what Jane has said, we're really building a network, an integrated network here. We talk about core network, the popular routes, as Jonathan had called them, with the core network routes such as the 99. The on-demand service feeds into that core network so folks can get around the community. And that really is how folks use public transportation. They have to transfer between services to get across the county. With the technology, the 20-minute headway, the value that the on-demand service provides, there's an increasing menu of options and opportunities to get around the county, the 2 counties, in a much, much better way using public transit.
Jonathan?
Thanks, and yeah, thanks again for having me. And I would echo what Jane said. This is one of those core network routes in the region, and every region has fixed bus routes like this that are pretty popular and well ridden. And I think there's a little bit for everybody in this region now with MOD and some of these core network routes. It all works together to move people and give them choice in how they want to be moved. And I think what you see is both agencies and the MPO also helping us get the most resources out to these critical corridors when possible. The only other thing I would add is we work very closely with SCAT's operational staff, MCAT's operational staff, to make sure the buses run on time, to make sure passengers, a bus can hold for a bus that might be a little late so the passengers can transfer. We talk to each other on the radio and other ways and try to make the trip the best possible for people. And as we saw, even through the pandemic, there were still people riding this route, especially service workers and essential workers. And it just, you really couldn't ask for more in terms of an efficient, frequent transit network and it working all together with the agency. So good stuff. Thank you.
as I've shared, SCAT is looking for new ways to improve our service to the community and looking for innovations. And I think the partnership that we have with MCAT is a piece of innovation in the way that we deliver that service together. And certainly this US 41 Transit Corridor Choices project is an innovation, as how we want to bring technology into the way that service is provided. And the mobility service of our communities is one that is forward thinking, and we're looking to the future to provide the best experience and adjust the service so that we can serve as many people as possible. So I look forward to this project and other partnerships that we can have in the future, and appreciate this time with you both, all of you today.
Well, there you have it. Thank you for spending time and sitting down with us today.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and thank you all for those of you that are watching and listening. Our next steps for the US 41 Transit Choices is a concept of operations. But if you want to learn more about this, please watch the MPO board meeting live stream on November the 8th on our Facebook page or publicinput.com. If you want to learn more about anything discussed here today, use the in-video links below.
And don't forget to leave comments or questions in the comment box. We always like to hear what you think about the webcasts, and if there's any interesting topics you would want to learn more about.
That's right. And also, don't forget to tell us how we did. We love to hear your feedback and comments. Thank you, everyone, again for joining us for your Tuesday Traffic Jam. I have a great day, and whether you drive, walk, bike, or ride transit, please be alert and stay safe. Bye.
Bye.